Hello, it's your local idiot again. I had a tiny little thought. Thought I'd share it with you. Sorry about that. So yeah, I made it one more time to frickin' 4 days. Last night at like 3 in the morning, I woke up and I have no idea why I was jonesing so hard, but it was way worse than the first time I. The first time I gave up, it was like kind of almost nothing. I just gave up for, and it just sort of felt like, why not? Last night, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like going, woo, hardcore jonesing. And so I got up and I ate uh, vegetables, which, you think of when you're going to break for like, like your spirit's going to break for, giving up on a fast. It should be like, I don't know, jelly donuts or some crazy thing like that. But no, no, last night was vegetables. So anyway, freaking 4 days. It's officially 4 days because I started the fast on Sunday night after supper, right? And then so it's actually a little 4 days plus some hours or whatever. So today's Friday, and so I made it to Thursday night, I guess Friday morning if you want to get technical, but Thursday night, and then late at night till like 3 in the morning. So I gave up again. Man, what the hell? How did I do that 14 days before? I don't know. 4 days again. Well, I guess it's intermittent fasting. I don't know. I actually don't know what intermittent fasting is exactly, like how long you're supposed to go and all that kind of stuff. I know there's software you can like schedule it and stuff to take all the brain work out of it, but I caved again. So today is Friday morning. I'm off work again. I was off Monday and I'm off today. I love this part-time job thing, but I have to do a bunch of homework. I'm late on like one assignment. Figures. But so today's not going to be R&R, rest and relaxation. It's going to be freaking writing a paper and all this kind of stuff and calculating financial reports to get ratios, which is my all-time favorite, because the class I'm in right now is finance. Finance 526 or something like that. You know. My specialty, math. So anyway, yeah, the struggle is real. If anybody else fasts and is having a hard time, you're not alone. So I'm starting it again officially this morning, Friday morning. Not nice and clean like a Monday morning. That was going to be so nice and clean. But no, this is going to be Friday morning that I'm starting it. So I'm trying to, at minimum, get to 14 days, and the whole goal really is to get to 21 days. But as it looks now, in the next 6 months, maybe I'll make it to 5 days or 6 days or something like that. I don't know. I have no idea. I guess I'm saving a lot of money on food. You know, I guess there's one way to look at it. Of course, it's not a ton of money because I almost never eat like red. I almost never eat red meat. So it's not like I'm spending a bunch of money on food either way, but it's really cheap now. Uh, all right. Well, you can tell it's morning time. Um, because I'm an American, it's just funny, and I've got some European friends. This is my cup of coffee. Yeah. And they're like, "That's not a cup of coffee. That's a bowl with a handle on it." Well, it is what it is. I know it looks like an optical illusion, like that I'm holding it too close to the phone or whatever. I don't know how I would, show you. It is a good cup. I need my coffee in the morning, and It's really just the caffeine. I could probably take caffeine pills, but it wouldn't be as good as coffee, I guess. Um, so happy Friday. Woo! Uh, I did get up this morning and make my wife breakfast and send her off to work, you know. I walk her every day. I walk her out to work. Well, every day that I can, I walk her out to her car, I've made her coffee and breakfast, and I bring that out. And I'm a weirdo. I arrange our every morning. I have a routine. Well, yeah, I guess that's okay. But anyway, I make her the same breakfast every day and have for years. Um, I just do toast, 2 pieces of toast, and I fry an egg, and you know, she prefers butter on the toast, so I put butter on the toast, and then the egg goes in the middle of the 2 pieces of toast like a sandwich, and I put that on a napkin, and then I arrange our vitamins. And when I say vitamins, like it's some people take like one vitamin a day. I have those. We take those too. So this is our vitamin routine. I should actually even just show you. It is it's not silly actually. I like I say, I used to be a big student of supplements and stuff like that, but our morning vitamin routine is this. All those pills. And so I arrange in this is what it looks like. Wow, I'll switch this. It looks like this. And so the napkin goes right here, the water for drinking the pills right here, and then her little monkey dish, my monkey dish, and then I give her, she hates taking pills, so I give her a one a day of hers, and I take 2 one-a-days for me, because there are things in there that I don't think there's enough of in our daily. Then we each get 2 vitamin C's, which is equal to 2,000 milligrams a day, which is what a couple different studies actually, one a long time ago and one more recently, said that you should have per day. Then we do 1 fish oil pill. It's a capsule. Then we each do 1 selenium. Then we each do 1 potassium. Then we each do 1 magnesium. And magnesium is one of those biggies. You know, the ones that are biggies to me are the one-a-days because of thiamine and niacin. There's other things too, but thiamine and niacin are the biggest places we get our thiamine and niacin is our one-a-days. Then vitamin C is a really big deal because there's no immune system without that. The fish oil is a big deal for anybody over 50 because your heart depends on it. The selenium and potassium. Potassium is a really big deal because studies have shown that most Americans are low on potassium. Selenium, I can't remember exactly the reason was, but it was kind of a big deal at the time. These two I just don't take that seriously very often. Magnesium, though, is a biggie for me, a real biggie, because it has made a huge difference in my my mood, my mental health, my emotional health, and all that. When I don't take magnesium, I can get into, even though I take a prescription called venlafaxine. Its proper name was Effexor when it first came out, like 25 years ago when I started taking it. But it's an antidepressant, but actually it's a anti-anxiety and antidepressant. It was originally designed for the VA, for Vietnam vets. But not during Vietnam. It was well after. It was like in 1990 that it came out, I believe, and that's or it was 1994, I think. And then I started taking it in about 1998, and I never realized how how messed up I was until I started taking this stuff, because I within in 14 days my whole life changed. Which, and I've been on and off of it many times since then, due to availability or who knows what, you know. And boy, I'll tell you, it does make a huge difference. That and the magnesium makes a huge difference in my ability to not be depressed. This like your mood, my moods are like peaks and valleys, right? This makes it, it doesn't get rid of it, it just smooths it out, you know what I mean? And the magnesium makes a big difference on my ability to not be depressed. And we take 2 each of these, and that's their 200 milligram. Then it's the glycinate, and it's important because if you take the wrong one, it acts like basically just a laxative, and nobody needs that. So we take 2 of those each every day. And then this COQ10, which is kind of, it's hard for me to remember because it's just so dumb of a name. But apparently this one is a really big deal for anti-aging, which, you know, it's not like I give a damn about that. But DNA, imagine DNA as a string, right? And if you then imagine a string being wound up on a spool, each side has an end, you know, on the spool, and then the thing in the middle where the string's wrapped. The spools, the ends fall off of them, which is then the DNA comes unraveled. And that is one of the biggest things that causes aging, because, or degradation from aging, because then the DNA stops being as easy to read for the body, and as your body is constantly being renewed, it begins to fail to renew correctly. So after that, then my wife has a couple of allergy pills. I take an aspirin a day because she would take an aspirin a day, but she's allergic to it. Then I take a venlafaxine, and I almost always, if I feel like it in the morning, take some ibuprofen, 4 of them. And, you know, because I'm basically sore every day because I'm old and I wrecked my body in my youth. And then I also take a metformin because, if I'm fasting, I don't do it. But I take a metformin because I'm diabetic. So every day I cook her breakfast, and I arrange those damn pills in these. And this one is just one I'm out of, and that's vitamin D3. And we usually take 2 of those. So it's a ritual. And by the way, the TikTok shop, not trying to sell you anything, this Shilajit, I tried that. It doesn't work. It doesn't do a thing. I tried it. It's terrible. It's disgusting. And I didn't mind that. But then I wanted to feel the difference like they always talk about in the commercials. It doesn't do a thing. So anyway, that's my story. Don't buy Shilajit, or it's a ripoff. So anyway, so that's my ritual in the morning. I get all that stuff together, and then make her a cup of coffee the way she likes it. And when she gets down from shower and all that stuff, it's time to go outside. I walk her out to her car, with her coffee and her breakfast, and she goes to work, and then I do my thing. So that's one of the things I learned from the military was that every single morning, make your bed. And it sounds really stupid, but the idea is every single morning, if you make your bed, you have this feeling that you accomplished something, that you started your day right. And, no matter how bad the day went, you come home and you do your evening things or whatever. But when it's time to go to bed, you go back to bed, and it's a made bed. And it just reminds you that you did something right that day. Something that day went right. as it was planned. So I am a real routine person, I guess. So I make my bed, and I don't go crazy anymore like back in the day. I don't do hospital corners, and I just make my bed, and it's just not a pile of crap like most people do or kids would do or whatever. And then I do my wife's breakfast stuff and the vitamin stuff and get her out of here, and then start my day. But and of course, imagine that. I cannot remember why I started telling you this. Fucking oh, so I've told you guys I have MS. A few years ago, I used to be able to outwork any human being, and I mean outwork. I used to love that I could do that. I was a really physical guy my whole life, athletic person. Even when I was, my weight would go up and down and stuff like that because I've always been a natural eater, and my body is very efficient at holding on to anything it possibly can. And so it was like I could be like John Belushi and be a little overweight and still be absolutely athletic. Or other times it'd be 6% body fat and still Superman. Well, I was always amazed by that. What I was always amazed by, I took my stuff for granted. I was always amazed by how other people that seemed like they were in really great shape couldn't keep up with me. I just didn't understand it. And then when I was, quite a bit older, like in my late 30s, I was always amazed that guys I worked with that were in their early 20s couldn't keep up with me. And I was like, the hell is that about? But really, eventually my little pea brain put the pattern together, and I'm like, I'm pretty athletic, I guess. And I really, it was a source of pride. It was a part of my identity was that I was when maybe why I wasn't incredibly smart, but man, I could sure put out some work. And then just a few years ago, all of a sudden, that suddenly stopped. I would get worn out easy. I mean, I had a job where I was churning and burning. I was doing a lot of work, a lot of construction, like remodel work and stuff like that. And like when I say churning and burning, I was getting jobs done that would take a lot of people 3 or 4 days. I was getting them done in 4 hours. But and the thing is, with when you're skilled and you're a contractor working for yourself, if you want to make more money, you just work faster. And you're skilled enough to be able to work faster, which is, that was another source of pride for me, that I'd done it for so long that I'm an electrician. I've never, taken the state test to get my journeyman. My dad was a master electrician who always told me, don't be an electrician, don't be an electrician. It's not that fun and all that kind of stuff. So he was one of these people that had this idea that variety was such a big deal, and I'm with him. That's why I took that to heart, and that's my whole life. So I learned plumbing, electrical work. That was my first. He was a master electrician and electronics person, so I learned that stuff from him very early on. And then later when it was up to me, I took classes and all that kind of stuff. So and in the military, I was an electronics person along with whatever other things I was doing. And so then later, when I started doing like maintenance kind of jobs, like facilities maintenance kind of jobs, in building houses. I spent 3 years building, as a framer, building houses. And so I started realizing that, hey, it's a big deal to have all these skills. I don't want to do the same thing all the time, every day. I want to learn new skills and then move on, learn another one. And I've done that my entire life. It's always amazed me when I sit down and fill out an application for somebody for a job where you have to work with your hands. And so they've got a big list of skills, and they want you to check every one or circle every one that you've got. And when I can circle and check so many that I've had, they're like, how many jobs have you had? And I'm like, hey, it's not about how many jobs I've had. It's about how many skills I've learned. Test me on anything you want to test me on. And I've gotten lots of jobs that way. Or that they're like, okay, well, we don't have to hire these two other guys now because you know how to do that. So then a few years ago, I was noticing that I was getting tired really, really easy. And I was in my 40s. And so, or I shouldn't say in my 40s. I think I was, yeah, no, I was. I was like 45, 46, something like that. And so I'm thinking, oh shit, I'm just getting old. And I mean, it was bad enough to where that at a job that I was doing, I was running up some stairs, which, carrying stuff, which would never have been an issue before. Except that by the time I got to the top of the stairs, I was like winded, and not just winded. Sometimes once I had to take a knee, or I was gonna conk out. And so I'm like, what the fuck is this? I mean, this is. And then I remembered, oh, my dad died at 50 years old of a heart attack. And I remember the build up to that, the last couple of years of his life, he had started doing that. Like we were doing a project in our backyard where we were digging, and we're digging out an old man-made pond kind of a thing. And he was having to, like, he would take 3 or 4 shovels full and then hand the shovel over to me because he just couldn't do it anymore. He would be winded. And I thought, well, shit, that's it. I'm going to croak. I'm not afraid of croaking by any means, but I'm like, well, I probably ought to go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor, and they did all these, what is it called? Brain freeze again. The ultrasound on all my big arteries and all that kind of stuff. Nothing. Then they did a stress test where you're on a bicycle or you're running and all this kind of stuff. And then you got the oxygen thing on you that deprive you of air or whatever. And then they listened to all your arteries. Nothing. Whole bunch of shit. I mean, literally all in blood tests after blood tests after blood tests. I mean, my doctor said it was like a metric ton of blood work. And after several months of this, and they just never could figure out what it is. They're like, this does not make sense. Then, it's so funny in the very beginning, I'm like, maybe I ought to take an MRI of my brain or something like that, just joking or whatever. And after all that time, they said, well, maybe we should take an MRI of your brain. And I'm like, isn't that something I suggested like on day one or something? And then I went home, the doctor called me after they did that, like 3 hours later, and he said, I need you to come back to the doctor's office. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so I go back, and he tells me I have a brain tumor. And I'm like, you motherfucker, are you kidding me? And so then after a year's worth of work after that with neurologists, first I was in the state of Oregon at that time. And so went through a really big neurology team there. And the big neurologist there said, well, we're going to have to take a biopsy of this place in your brain, which is a pretty big deal. I mean, I didn't mind the idea of it and stuff. They did a bunch of other stuff like a spinal tap and all this other kind of crap. But then circumstances changed, and we really needed to move to Iowa for my wife's stuff. So we moved to Iowa, and then I started the process kind of over again with the University of Iowa Hospital. First, I tried to go to a neurologist in Quad Cities, Iowa, and they said, nope, we want you to go to University of Iowa Hospital. And I'm like, great. I mean, the doctor literally wouldn't even see me. I brought the MRI to him. The secretary took it. The secretary came back after a while and said, the doctor doesn't want to see you. He said, and she gave me a note from him and a referral to the University of Iowa Hospital. I'm like, holy fuck. I mean, what the hell is this? But I was glad the doctor knew his limitations, I guess. And so I started seeing these people in University of Iowa Hospital in Iowa City. And they had a team of people there, and the guy that was running the show in the neurology department was apparently some world famous neurologist. And he said, well, it's not a tumor. And I'm like, oh, well, that's awesome. What is it? And he's like, it's a lesion. And then he started explaining to me what MS was, and because I had heard of it before, but I really didn't know what it was. And so they did 8 million tests there to determine, stuff. And so technically it's not MS because of one test. The spinal tap, which they gave me in Oregon, then they did it again at University of Iowa Hospital. The spinal tap where they test the spinal fluid, it's supposed to. They all said it's a really finicky test. We're gonna have to do it more than once probably because sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes it reads negative when it's really actually positive, and then later we test it and it's positive. So they did this more than once, and I don't know if you've ever been through a spinal tap, but they blow. Just so you know, they stick a needle in your freaking spinal cord area, and they always fuck that up. In that it's I guess you'd have to be perfect not to hit the spinal cord, like and places on your body are going because they're fucking up a wire, that they have no idea what they're touching. I sometimes I think they have no idea what they're doing, for that matter. It's a very uncomfortable, very unpleasant test. But anyway, the test they could never get it to go positive. So to be called MS, that test has to be positive, and there has to be an event that is showing that it's degrading your body. It's degrading your system, like it's a progressive disease, and it's MS is fatal. Eventually, you get worse and worse and worse and worse until it just fucking kills you. Well, what they were calling MS at the time, they kept on doing MRIs of my brain, which are like $12,000 a piece, which thank God I wasn't paying for it. But they were like, well, this is the weirdest case of MS because this lesion in your brain is supposed to be growing, but it's not. It's basically like a dead spot. So what it is MS is the wiring in your brain, which are the nerves in your brain. All nerves that you have are coated with some cells, special cells that are like insulation on a wire. Now, anybody that knows anything about electrical stuff knows that if you don't have insulation on a wire, it'll touch another wire, because most wires are, positive, negative kind of a thing, or a load and a neutral. So anyway, if the two wires touch, it fucks everything up. So there's got to be insulation on the wires. And if it was like phone wires or data wires, there's got to be insulation. Or like if you were trying to call somebody on the phone or a radio or something like that, and the wires were touching, the impulse that would be going to it it's called bleed over, and you wouldn't be able to hear them, they wouldn't be able to hear you, all this kind of stuff. So anyway, there's this thing in your brain in your body where that your immune system, your white blood cells, it's just like an allergic reaction. Your immune system suddenly decides, oh shit, these cells around these specialized cells around these nerves, which are, you have 8 trillion nerves in your body, are bad. They're invaders. Well, they're not invaders. Your body owns them. Your body made them. But your body decides that they're evil invaders and we have to kill them. So those cells are called myelination or myelin. And so the myelin around the nerves, which is the insulation around the nerves that keeps nerves separated from each other, starts to be destroyed, literally taken apart and flushed by those white blood cells. During this MS thing, I've learned more about my damn body than I just about ever knew before. And so it's called demyelinating disease. MS is demyelinating disease with a couple of added things. One is that positive test on that spinal fluid thing. And the other one is that it's progressive until it kills you. Well, mine stopped progressing. So in my brain, this lesion is about the size of a whole peanut with the shell and all. And it's never, since the first time in Oregon that they did an MRI, it's never changed, which is awesome. When they told me that, they're like, oh, I don't know, and this is Iowa City. They're a really high-end medical college, where they teach physicians, that's how they become physicians. And they're a a school about science, so they have giant grants for constantly experimenting, which was actually turned out to be one of my concerns later. Was I wonder how much they're doing for me and how much they're experimenting on me, but because that was legit. Actually, that was a thing. It's one of the reasons I stopped going there. Because they pretty much came out and said, well, we got this one treatment, but it is a kind of an experiment. And then it was really obvious that this one dude was way more interested in experimenting on me than he was with treating me. So I was like, nah, I'm exit stage right. Anyway, so I also got another opinion from the Mayo Clinic, and Mayo Clinic said the same thing. They said this is the most unique case of MS that we've ever seen before. So much so because because the place in the brain that it was, where the lesion wasn't affecting my body in the ways that it should be. It's like my brain's wired wrong, where the place that's being damaged is causing other problems than they expected for it to cause. The whole thing is basically a lack of endurance. So I can be, if it's a hot day, it's worse, just like MS, where that, I can be outside and be doing something. I mean, it could be something little like mowing the lawn or something like that. But I got about 20 minutes. And in about 20 minutes, I get to where I starting to stumble around like a drunk. I'm still think fine or whatever like that, but which is highly annoying, by the way, to stumble around like a drunk while you're still sober. But you just are having a hard time making your body do stuff. And then eventually it gets into crazy shit. And there's no such thing as just taking a break. You can't just sit down for 5 minutes and catch your wind and then start again. Once it starts that, you're done for the day. There's no such thing. You get back up in 4 hours, you're still fucked up. So anyway, yeah, Mayo Clinic said it's the most unique case of MS they'd ever seen. And so they would rather classify it as demyelinating disease, which is fine. It's easier for me to say MS simply because nobody knows what demyelinating disease is. And I mean, I've had to teach, like educate a couple of doctors that I've had, like regular, GPs. They're like, demyelinating disease. They're like, what is that now? And like they had heard of it, but they weren't exactly sure what it was. And so, yeah, I explained it to them. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, I knew that whole time. You didn't have to. I asked you what it was, but I knew about it the whole time. Yeah, I'm like, whatever, man. But it's all good. So it's easier to say demyelinating or MS than demyelinating disease because it's literally the exact same symptoms as MS without the death part, which is awesome. I'm stoked about that. So I had to stop working my regular kind of work or whatever because now I'm freaking disabled, I guess, and they said it's permanent. They said there's no way for it to that lesion to ever be repaired in my brain. The good news is though it's not getting worse according to everything they've seriously 5 MRIs and it's never changed in size. So I'm like the $6 million man. They've had to spend so much money on freaking medical shit on me in the last 5 years that like a $6 million man. At least, I have no idea. But anyway, you thought you were going to get away from this on some short thing. Sorry. It's my typical shit. I don't even know what it'd be like to make like a 2-minute post or a 5-minute post. I don't know if it's possible. So I probably had some big point I was going to make, but for the simple fact that I've been doing this for like over 30 minutes, which is ridiculous, I'm going to stop and let you do your thing, and I'm going to drink my coffee and shut the fuck up. So, hey, man, day 1 again. Woo! Failed. I failed again. Started again. I don't know. Maybe it's meant to be, I suppose. So, if you're fasting and if you're failing, you are not alone. See ya.